Welcome to Healthy Living. I'm Lori Johnson. Thanks for joining us today. Our topic is how to achieve good overall health, and we're talking about the 4 essentials of overall good health. My guest is Dr. Don Colbert, author of the brand new book, Dr. Colberts Health Zone Essentials, Jumpstart Your Healthy Life with the Best of Dr. Colbert's Zone series, Secrets and Receipts. So welcome, Dr. Colbert.
Well, thank you.
Great to have you back again.
Thank you.
So you talk about this being sort of a compilation, and you've been on our show before.
Right.
We've talked before about your other books, talking about the essentials of overall good health. And this one is so great because you combine them and condense them. And so, first of all, what are the 4 essentials of good overall health?
Well, it starts with the gut. The gut is literally the foundation of health. Most all disease begins in the gut. As Hippocrates said over 2,000 years ago, he said all disease begins in the gut. We're just now finding out he was right, especially autoimmune disease. Pretty much every autoimmune disease starts in the gut. I actually have a gut zone diet.
Yes.
But that's in my gut zone book. I didn't have room in this, but in the back of the book we have recipes. But it goes from gut zone. We heal the gut first, and then we go from there to a healthy either keto, which is a healthy keto diet. Most keto diets are not healthy, or a healthy Mediterranean diet. Most Mediterranean diets are not healthy. Too many lectins, too much gluten. And then we go to that, from that to optimizing our hormone levels. After 50, almost every woman and man develops low hormone levels.
Yeah.
Especially 2 key hormones that are real important for the brain, testosterone and thyroid. And then that leads to healthy brain function and how to safeguard the brain from dementia, from Alzheimer's disease. And we talk about the 6 types of Alzheimer's. There's actually 6 types, and how to prevent it. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It's so simple, and they each kind of lead into the other. A healthy gut literally forms the foundation for a healthy brain.
So now you're also, in addition to being a medical doctor, a physician, you're an outspoken Christian.
Yes.
Talk about how your faith and medical science blend together in your life and in your work, because a lot of people think these 2 things are at odds.
Well, every patient that comes into my office, I not only give them a dietary prescription of what the diet they need to follow, be it a healthy keto, a healthy gut zone diet, or a healthy Mediterranean diet, I give them a nutritional program. I also give them a hormonal program. I also give them a spiritual program with the Word of God, either YouTube videos to watch or books of the Bible to read. I try and get everyone at night to get those 10 belly laughs by watching something funny that's clean. And then at night, I like them to go to bed and listen to the New King James Version dramatized and just let the words soak into it, and put their TV maybe to turn off around 11 or 11:30 so they can literally soak in the Word, and then it brings the peace that passes all understanding. There's nothing better than God's Word.
Absolutely. And one thing for me, you know, a lot of the things that you recommend, which I'm very familiar with, they require self-control.
Absolutely.
And they require self-discipline, but thankfully this is one of the gifts of the Spirit, is self-control.
Right,
so this is something we can pray for, is self-control when it comes to following these healthy habits.
You have to have it.
You know, a lot of Christians in particular, Christians and non-Christians really, take issue with all these drugs that the doctors prescribe. By following some of these recommendations, can people get off their drugs, like their diabetes medication, their high blood pressure pills?
That is such a good question. Now, again, if they've had it for 10, 20, 30 years and they burn their pancreas out, their beta cells are no longer producing insulin, they have to stay on these drugs. Thank goodness we have the drugs. But if we catch it early enough, absolutely. I'm able to get many of my patients off meds. I have natural alternatives to most every medicine. Blood pressure medicine, cholesterol-lowering meds. We have natural alternatives, and plus we tell them what foods raise the cholesterol instead of putting them on a statin drug. And believe it or not, statins are one of the main causes of low testosterone that we're seeing, as well as other meds like beta blockers, ACE inhibitors, SSRIs for depression, even Benadryl lower testosterone. So testosterone is critical for healthy cholesterol levels and for healthy brain function.
So you talk about the 4 essentials. The first one is gut health, then the diet, then hormones, balancing the hormones, and then brain health. So why did you put gut health first? And you have some things here on the table that are especially good for your gut. Why did you put that one first?
Because the gut influences the brain. And the gut is where 2/3 of our immune system is located. And most every disease starts in the gut. And most every Christian that we see do not have the temperance they need to overcome disease because they're being led by the flesh, and the flesh craves the very food that destroys the gut and destroys the body with disease. For example, when people sit down for dinner, many people have to have a dessert. You've just invited in dysbiosis, leaky gut, every kind of inflammatory disease, type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes, high cholesterol, and most every other disease. So again, we have to crucify the flesh according to Galatians 5:24. I tell them, those that are Christ have crucified their flesh with the affections and lusts. And what's crucifying the flesh? Just saying no to the flesh.
Yes.
Give the flesh what it needs and not what it craves. The flesh almost always craves the food that invites disease and death into it.
And also, it builds on it. The more self-control you exercise, the more you have, and then the more you give in to those cravings, the more you do it. So it's sort of a path that you go down.
It's just like a muscle. When you exercise temperance grows strong. But then we have hacks to get into where we can exercise our faith and develop temperance. For example, fiber is the most amazing food. Like this fiber here, my Fiber Zone.
So this is a supplement that you have. So it's a fiber supplement that you actually recommend.
And what I do, so many patients get the munchies around 8 o'clock at night. And so I tell them real simple. All you do is you take my Fiber Zone. I have a wonderful lemon lime that tastes like key lime pie. And I says, put a heaping scoop of this in 4 to 6 ounces of cold water, stir it up and drink it. And I don't let it sit or it'll form like oatmeal within seconds. And so drink that, and that tastes delicious, and then it fills you up. You don't feel like eating. And if they're having sugar cravings, I have a supplement called Carbassist that literally shuts many of those sugar cravings down. And then they're able, that's the key. Most people's weight problem is because they get the munchies at night and they go to bed and they get these sugar spikes and high insulin levels, and they wake up wearing the food they just ate. And they don't crave broccoli and salads at night. They crave comfort foods and carbs and starches and salts, salty foods and crackers and things like that. And those are the very foods that invite disease into the body.
So this right here is a supplement for good gut health,
now
correct?
These are the keys. These are like our training wheels for gut health. Probiotics. Probiotics are critical for gut health. And realize only 5% of Americans get enough fiber, but probiotics, we are decimating our guts with antibiotics, with anti-inflammatories, with acid-reducing medications, as well as with all the fluoride that's in our toothpaste. And when people are not rinsing their mouths out, chloride kills the good bacteria. Artificial sweeteners kill the good bacteria. Chlorinated water kill the good bacteria. That's why I use filtered water that filters that chlorine out. But also, these probiotics do so much for the body. The probiotics literally teach our immune system to fight disease. It regulates inflammation. They literally enable our body to produce critical vitamins. All the B vitamins are made by probiotics. Vitamin K is made by probiotics. And so, again, these are critical for a healthy body and a healthy immune system.
So we talk about the things that are good for our gut. You said we have to get rid of the things that are bad. Number one, sugar. But also green bananas, good for the gut.
Oh my goodness, green bananas are so good because they contain resistant starches. Now you say, what are resistant starches? Well, resistant starches resist digestion in the stomach and small intestines, so they're taken into the large intestines where they feed the good bacteria and they fuel the intestinal cells of the large intestines. And examples are green bananas, also your green papayas, green mangoes, and yams, and sweet potatoes, and taro root, and yucca, and foods such as this. And now what these do, they are critical for helping to heal the gut and supply the gut with what it needs to give the proper nutrition to feed the good bacteria. That's what they're doing. But yellow bananas, not so. Lots of sugar. And when you get lots of sugar, guess what you get? You get dysbiosis, bad bacteria growing. You get SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which we see, all the irritable bowel syndrome and all these types of symptoms we see.
Green ones. Don't let them go
once the
yellow.
Bananas get yellow, I give those to the grandkids. Kids can eat those, no problem.
They're very sweet. Kids love them. So this is olive oil, which is really good for your gut. And this particular kind of olive oil has an extra boost of polyphenol, which is really the key ingredient of olive oil, polyphenol.
There's a whole new classification of olive oils that are not in the grocery store. They're the new high polyphenol olive oils. You say, what's the difference? These polyphenols are so high, and what they do is they have a unique characteristic. When you consume them, it creates a burn in the back of your throat, and people say, well, I got bad olive oil. No, you got a good olive oil. And it produces a little hacky cough.
Yeah.
And when it does that, you can be assured it contains lots of those high polyphenols, and the most powerful polyphenol, or I call it the king of polyphenols, oleocanthal. This is amazing what this antioxidant does for your brain, for your blood vessels, for your liver, for your entire body. But it's critical because the highest food in this is olive oil.
Yeah.
No other food contains near the amount. Now, also berries contain it.
Yes.
Also, dark chocolate contains it. Mold-free organic coffee contains them, and green tea and black tea contain them.
Polyphenols.
But there's nothing to compare with the polyphenols to high polyphenol olive oil and or oleocanthal. They're the kings of polyphenols.
Good. I'm so inspired. We're going to take a break and be right back with Dr. Don Colbert. The book is called Dr. Colbert's Health Zone Essentials. Stay with us. Welcome back to Healthy Living. We're talking with Dr. Don Colbert, and the book is called Dr. Colbert's Health Zone Essentials. You already talked about the gut as that being a health zone essential. The second one is diet, which you briefly mentioned before, sort of like a ketogenic diet. And you brought an example of something that is on the diet, and it looks absolutely delicious.
Yes.
It's a breakfast
scramble.
So healthy
for you. Yes.
And I'm sorry that our viewers can't smell it because it smells heavenly.
Well, it's a breakfast scramble, and it's consisting of, first of all, pasture-raised organic eggs, 2 of them, along with we have diced up yams, as well as it contains carrots and broccoli and onions and mushroom, which are really good for the gut. Avocado oil, just a little bit of grass-fed butter to add the flavor, and a little bit of turkey sausage. And it's so filling, and it has all that good cold-pressed avocado oil, so it's very filling, so you have the energy, but it's so healing for the gut. This is a gut-friendly breakfast that you can have. Now, again, I'll have eggs usually 2 or 3 days a week. Also, once you slide more into the Mediterranean, once you lose your weight on the healthy keto program, then you slide into the Mediterranean, healthy Mediterranean diet. Not all Mediterranean diets are healthy. Most are not, because they contain lots of wheat, lots of gluten, and lots of other carbs that are not so healthy for the gut. So we have a gut-healthy Mediterranean diet with lots of the powerful vegetables, the cruciferous veggies, the salad greens, the romaine, the spinach, the kale, all the healthy greens, as well as the olive oil. Olive oil, minimal amounts of saturated fats. Saturated fats are bad for the brain, bad for the gut. And then, again, healthy fish, omega-3s, really good for the gut, really good for the brain. And then minimal red meat. Red meat and pork is not good for the gut nor good for the brain. Lots of toxins in it. So it's a simple program, real easy to follow, but it's simply this: eating more living food and less dead food. If you eat dead food, I tell people take fiber, because your fiber, our fiber zone covers a multitude of dietary sins, but take that fiber scoop within an hour of eating the dead food, the bacon, and it helps to bind and flush it out of your system.
Good to know. All right, so every once in a while we can be a little bit bad and take the fiber.
Right,
all right,
exactly.
So this is so important. Hormones. You talk about balancing hormones, and most people, many people, especially people over 50, their hormones are off. Women don't have enough estrogen, which is the female hormone, and men don't have enough testosterone, which we know is the male hormone. But we can get these things straightened out.
Absolutely, and that's the key. And so hormone health is critical, because hormone health also is essential for the brain, because once the hormones nosedive around age 50, then the brain starts to struggle. We start to forget a word. See, testosterone and estrogen boost brain-derived neurotrophic factor, but also DHEA and pregnenolone protect the neurons. These are critical for people over the age of 50. You don't need much. A man needs 25 milligrams DHEA, 25 milligrams pregnenolone, and a woman about the same, and brings those levels to a brain protective level. But the testosterone zone just helps the body produce its own testosterone. Now, some men and some women over 60 are going to need the real thing in creams. I use a lot of creams, and I don't overdo it, because we overdo it. We don't want our women having a beard and having to shave every day. And also, we don't want their hair falling out.
Yes.
So again, we can use a little pumpkin seed extract or pumpkin seeds that turns off or turns down that dihydro so you don't lose hair. But then we also, one hormone that starts to nosedive around 50 is thyroid.
Thyroid.
And the doctors miss it 99% of the time because they're just checking the pituitary thyroid, the TSH. They're not checking the free T3 that tells me how much of the active thyroid hormone your body's producing. When the hormones get sluggish, that thyroid gets sluggish, that free T3 goes down below 3, usually around 2.5 or 2.7, and then your hands get cold, your feet are cold, you're sluggish, you got brain fog, dry skin, your hair starts to break, and so I put them on my thyroid zone twice a day.
It's great stuff. And so how do people know whether their hormones are out of whack?
Go get a blood test. I have all the different blood tests in the back. I run a full panel on my patients. I check their, again, all the thyroid tests. I check the free T3, the TSH, the TPO, which shows there's autoimmune thyroid disease, which I see a ton of that. I check the total and free testosterone for men and women, and I just balance them. I don't get them super high. I just get them right in that sweet spot, and they feel amazing because what's happening, the men after 50, their testosterone bottoms out and their estrogen goes high. And most men over 50, their estrogen's much higher than their wives.
That makes perfect sense.
And those men start to become what I call girly men. So we got to be careful
We don't want girly men. No, we don't want manly ladies either. So got to get these hormones straightened out. Okay. We're going to take another break and be right back with Dr. Don Colbert. The book is called Dr. Colbert's Health Zone Essentials. Stay with us. Welcome back to Healthy Living. We're continuing our discussion with Dr. Don Colbert. The book is called Dr. Colbert's Health Zone Essentials. And the last one, we're talking about 4, is brain health. And this is a way to prevent dementia, Alzheimer's, and in some cases, if people have the early stages, reverse some of the symptoms.
We reverse it a lot if we give it, especially in that mild dementia stage. And I do MOCA testing, Montreal Cognitive Assessment Exam, on most all of my patients that have any kind of memory loss so I can see where they are on the spectrum, see? And then we start to see those tests improve every 6 months to a year. Now, there's 6 causes of Alzheimer's that most people don't realize. Your doctors can only treat one cause, but there's 6 major causes, but there's like 36 to 37 different things that can trigger it.
Yes.
Like toxins, like mold or mercury, and also inflammation. Inflammation is deadly to the brain. It causes our brain to produce beta amyloid that shrinks the brain, destroys the neural connections. Sugar, deadly for the brain. Low trophic factors, low hormones, low vitamin D. Vitamin D and fish oil is critical for the brain. It turns on over 900 different genes, and it starts to restore and maintain the brain synapses along with the DHA fish oil. These are just causes of dementia, as well as trauma to the brain, toxins to the brain, impaired blood flow to the brain. All of these are triggers to dementia. But what helps the brain tremendously, lowering homocysteine. Homocysteine is that toxic amino acid. When it's over 10, it starts to damage and destroy and downsize the brain. This contains the curcumin, which is critical for the brain, the active forms of the Bs in high enough doses to lower homocysteine and the trimethylglycine, and it lowers homocysteine beautifully, as well as brain-boosting foods. We got tremendous amounts of foods that help the brain. Blueberries. I put patients on my blueberry kale smoothie.
What I love about this blueberry kale smoothie is it hides the taste of the
does.
Kale.
Absolutely. Now,
so
it needs to be frozen.
Sneak it in there.
Right. Frozen blueberries. You could add some ice in it. Add some stevia, about 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon. 1/2 cup of triple washed organic kale. And then it is absolutely delightful. Now, I keep my kale in the freezer, too, so it prolongs it, and I put it in these freezer bags.
Smart.
And my frozen blueberries, and I add a little ice, but it's a wonderful smoothie. And you can add avocado oil cold pressed, and it keeps you full for 4 or 5 hours.
And we also brought the olive oil back out here just to really drive home the point that olive oil is so important for the brain, and you actually recommend the supercharged, the high polyphenol olive oil. Where can people get that?
Online, and there's lots of good online sources, and I give patients lists, but you can just go online and find good sources. I'll look at the gold medal winners out of Greece. They have actually awards, and so you can look and find the best ones out there.
And then you have this supplement that is a brain zone basic. What's in it?
That contains the key nutrients to lower homocysteine. I find almost exclusively in people that are developing memory issues, their homocysteine's high. Doctors never check it. I check it almost everyone I see, and I lower it with this. This lowers it effectively. We start with 2 twice a day. We get it down below 10. If they have the Alzheimer's gene, the ApoE4 gene, you have to just stay on it and get that homocysteine down below 7 or below.
All right.
But it works.
We're going to take one final break and be right back with Dr. Don Colbert. The book is called Dr. Colberts Health Zone Essentials. Stay with us. Welcome back to Healthy Living. We are talking with Dr. Don Colbert, author of the book, Dr. Colbert's Health Zone Essentials. And unfortunately, we're almost out of time, and we've just barely scratched the surface. I'm sure most of our viewers are wondering, where can they get more information, you know, about
right.
the foods, the recipes, and how to get these tests done that you talk about? That's all in here.
Right, exactly. It's in there. And plus, if they want more information, they can go, for example, on the gut. They can go to my Gut Zone book, Dr. Colbert's Healthy Gut Zone. If it's on hormones, go to my Hormone Zone book. If it's brain, go to Dr. Colbert's Healthy Brain Zone. If it's fasting, Dr. Colbert's Healthy Fasting Zone. If it's about the Mediterranean or keto diet, Beyond Keto, or the Keto Zone.
So where can people, number one, get these books and find out more about your recommendations and you?
Right. They can get it on my website, drcolbert.com. And we also have a broadcast that we have. They can follow us on the podcast. They just go to drcolbert.com. I'll talk about every disease and the nutritional and hormonal and dietary treatment for most every disease. It's so easy, and you don't have to take all these meds.
Oh, wonderful. And, you know, we didn't even get a chance to talk about it, but you briefly mentioned fasting. You recommend fasting at least 12 hours a day, 14, 16, 18 hours a day.
Now, if they have the Alzheimer's gene, either single or the double, they need to do at least 16 to 18, 4 or 5 days a week, and preferably every day. And you got to literally crucify the flesh and get in the habit of doing that. You can still have coffee or tea. And what I do, cinnamon, remember, boosts that brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So I put my patients on cinnamon tea with stevia and green tea and jasmine, which is wonderful, and you're not hungry or not craving, but you're still fasting.
That
easy way
resets
to
the insulin.
hack into intermittent fasting.
Wonderful. Okay, well, thank you so much, Dr. Colbert. It's always a pleasure. We're so grateful for the outstanding work that you've done and for being here today.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And thanks to you for joining us for this edition of Healthy Living. I'm Lori Johnson, and we'll see you again next week.